everybody, Gerry Katzman here. Welcome to MasterTalentTeachers.com. Today I have a very special guest. Someone who has been through my program at StandUpComedyClass.com. She's the most phenomenal actress. You know her as Anna from the Fox show Lie to Me. You've seen her on Memphis Beat. You've seen her on innumerable commercials. My favorite, most recent one being the Snickers commercial with comedy legend Don Rickles and Academy winner Joe Pesci. You are here to tell me how to book more commercials.
Yes.
You have a secret.
Yes.
You've done like cajillions of them. And you also work all the time on television as an actor as well. How the flip do you do it?
Well, I think there's things that everybody says, and then I think that there's ways to boil it down and make it a little bit easier.
Yes.
And I think the best thing that I ever heard was be a regular person when you go into audition. But I didn't really understand like what that meant to be a regular person, because you're different in different scenarios.
Yeah.
And so the best way that I ever heard it put, and the sort of thing that stuck with me the most, was when you go into a room, don't try to be something that you're not. Just be the reason that your best friends love you. And that's different for everybody, but it really meant something for me. The reason my best friends love me is going to be so different from the reason your best friends love you. And so everybody won't be the same. You'll just be sort of the most unique version of yourself. And that, to me, in commercials is really what they're looking for. They're not looking for the best actor in commercials. They're looking for someone who brings something unique. And the most unique thing you have to offer is yourself. And so I always just be the me that my best friends love.
Yeah.
And that has actually helped me to just be a normal person when I go into a room.
This is so smart. I'm going to rephrase what you just said. So just dig this, because it's so important. This is the second person that we've had here in studio, Amir Talai, who you and I both love, and who has said the one most important thing that you can do to book jobs is to be a normal person. But Jennifer has now taken it with her spin on it, which I think is absolutely genius. Be the person that your best friends love. So, you know, like, I'm really whimsical and a little bit, like, silly. So when I go into an audition, I try to find a way to bring silliness. What's part of the person you are that your best friends love?
Yeah, I think that I have a silliness also. I think for me, my friends love that I'm observant, and I think there's ways to bring observation and reaction into every commercial. So I always try to bring that side into it, being the voice of the audience and speaking to that side. But yeah, whimsy. I mean, I have friends who you love because they're sarcastic.
Yeah.
I have friends that you love because they're bitchy. So, I mean, those are the things that you can bring, and honestly, it's going to be different. The same lines, the same scenario, it's going to make it so different.
Yeah.
I have a sweetness that I'll bring to it a lot of the time, yeah.
Can you give an example of how technically you've taken a script or an audition and you said, I see a place there where I can inject my own sweetness or my own awkwardness or my own whatever. What's an example of that so that we can see in practice what that looks like?
So oftentimes commercial scripts are ever-changing. They'll change throughout the process. And one of the things that they can't tell you to improvise, it's not legal for them to say that, so what they'll say is make it your own. And they'll give you a few spots during a commercial, unless it's spokesperson or not sort of comedic at all, to make it your own. And the best part to make it your own is always the button, which is something that is not scripted. It's the very end of a spot, and I find that that's the best way to inject the most me into any script. And what that is to put a button on it is to put, most of the time, a comedic, either line or nonverbal button, which is a reaction to what the other person has done, at the very end of a scene. It sort of leaves the scene in your hands, and it is a great way of bringing whatever element that you bring to a scene that's not in the script to that script. So it can be an improvised line, or it can be an improvised look. It's just something that leaves them going, you thought further through the scene than just the very last line. And I think that's the best place to put you, what's uniquely you, into a script.
So what's a button that you've put on a commercial that actually ended up having a good result for you?
I did a Fiber One commercial, and in it, two people were talking about me. I was a third person in the scene, and the script just said, she turns and smiles. And my button instead was a verbal button where I turned and waved and said, "Hi, Carl." And that is what they ended up using. And it was nothing brilliant. It wasn't an amazing, but it was just a beat where I thought I could show something that's a little bit different and me, and button the scene in a very succinct way. So it's short. You don't want to do a monologue. You don't want to say, well, here's the place where they'll see I can juggle. So it's like a very, very concise little way to go out of the scene doing something that you can do well.
Have you put buttons on other commercials?
I button almost every commercial, unless they say this is a commercial where you don't need it, or sometimes now, because buttons have become so common, they will put in a button for you. What you don't need is two buttons on a scene. So it can be that they've scripted one for you where the last line is so good where there's nothing that you need after it. But if the last line is so good and it's the other person's, you can always have a nonverbal button for yourself, which is just you reacting and finishing the scene. It's not stealing focus and making the scene about you. It's you reacting to what the other person has just said.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at your sides before you go?
No.
They're available, right, online?
Yeah, a lot of the time they're available.
So what is with that? I don't do it because I'm lazy, but why don't you do it?
I don't do it because I don't want to stress out about it. And I find that it's never going to be, the directions of how to launch a missile. I'm never going to be sitting there going, I wish I had more time to prepare. It's only 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I figure that I can figure it out while I'm in the waiting room. If I'm really nervous, if they say, make sure you're memorized, there's a lot of dialogue, I will go early before my call time and do it while I'm there. But I never want to bring the room with me when I'm at home. And it's something that I do so that I don't stress about it. I don't bring the room with me in preparation for a commercial, and I leave it there when I walk out. And it really helps me to not overthink what I'm doing there.
Any last tips?
Don't take yourself too seriously. It's just commercials. I think oftentimes you put all this preparation, you think about the paycheck that could happen and your mom in Kansas watching you on TV, and you get stressed about it. You bring that with you in the room. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's probably you doing a Triscuit commercial, sitting in a chair, pleasantly eating a cracker. And if that's your day at work, then it's a good day.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.